Hello, everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace dropping in on you. Hope everybody is having a great day. Look, I have a client that I have to be with in 26 minutes, so I am definitely not going to be long, but I definitely have a need to share something with you I think is immensely important in your journey, in your move, in your desire to understand some things, and also to be more effective in your living in this life. And so I'm going to share that with you before I forget. If you have not enrolled in next weekend's masterclass, Healing Emotional and Psychological Trauma, you definitely want to be there. You're going to be dealing with a lot of the things that are tied to your pain and your hurt, and understanding why it has paralyzed you and why you can't experience life at a level that you know somewhere deep inside you're capable of. And we're going to address that. We're going to start the process of healing. Obviously, healing doesn't happen in a day, but you have to start the healing. You have to open up. You have to move from behind denial. You have to move from behind the stuff you've piled on top of it. Some of us are dealing with one traumatic experience. Some of us are dealing with complex trauma, one traumatic experience after another, compiled on top of each other, creating this complex dynamic in which you can't function at the level you were designed to. We're going to deal with that on multiple levels. I'm also going to be giving away one platinum package, a $10,500 platinum package, which is worth a year of working with me. And I'm going to also give away a gold package. I gave away two platinum packages at the last class, but I'm giving away a platinum and a gold package. And I have a surprise for everyone, actually, who enrolls. But if you haven't enrolled in that class, you definitely need to enroll. You need to start the healing process. And that's that for that. Now let's talk, because again, I have a client at the top of the hour. So if you are a person who has a belief in a, you may call this source God, the Most High, the Almighty, depending on what your faith system dictates. But I'm not here to talk to you about what faith system you use. I'm here to talk to you about your direct connection to that source. I want to really truly speak to you, and this is something that I'm going to do during this class on next weekend. But I want to talk to you now. I want to talk to you who are going through some journeys. And I'm sitting up and I'm looking at the last few weeks, and we've had some pretty devastating news. We've had people murdered in grocery stores, kids murdered in schools. And we have seen death in crazy ways. We have seen suffering in crazy ways. And sometimes what it looks like is God is absent. And so if you're like me and you've gone through some things, if you're like me and you're dealing with some things, you may have asked the question, where's God when it hurts? Because we have this idea of being consistently and constantly under the protection of God. And we get the idea that that in some way exempts us or inoculates us against the demonic darkness and just negativity that's in the world. And we have to have an understanding of how this thing is set up and how it moves, so that when we are in the midst of our dark moments, we don't become discouraged. We don't become delusional, disillusioned in a sense of purpose. We really truly need to have this understanding. So I'm going to talk to you about this. I want to make one quick reminder. Stay tuned for the coming series, A House Divided. We're going to talk about the importance of the family and the marriage, and how destruction begins with division. And we're going to do this in a series. So stay tuned for that. I meant to announce that at the top of the video. But anyway, where is God when it hurts? Because there are a lot of people asking that right now. There are a lot of people in Uvalde, Texas, in Buffalo, New York, in Newberry, South Carolina, where in the course of less than 15 hours, 4 teenagers were murdered. you're not going to get a lot of media coverage on that, because see, in the vein of death and murder and violence, that's expected. And it's a sad place when you start to see the death of youth as being an expected result of a current reality. And you're asking, where is God when it hurts? When you sit up and you've put everything you've had into a vision, into a dream, into a relationship, into a business, into an opportunity, and it collapses on you, you ask, where is God when it hurts? What we have to understand is that this life was never meant to be a life of ease. You have to start understanding life in the sense of responsibility and purpose. You have to start understanding life that in order for you to excel in this life, in order for you to be a representation of what's possible in God, God has to be able to trust you with trouble. This isn't a notion that in some way God is sadistic and enjoys your pain. It's in the fact that the way the world is designed is that men and women are designed and given free volition. That means that we get to choose the direction we take in life. We make decisions every day about what we will and what we will not do. Our character and integrity is challenged every day as things start to happen in our lives, and we have to search ourselves to ask ourselves, what should I do in this moment? We are being challenged. Well, let me explain something to you. No matter where you're at and what you're going through, it is not a desire of the Most High that you suffer, but it is a desire of God that you become stronger. And you can't gain character integrity in ease and comfort. God taught me that a long time ago. You know, where is God when it hurts? When you're sitting there and you're looking and you're asking, how did I get here? What did I do to put me here? Where are you at when it hurts? Let me tell you something. When I was going through one of the darkest times of my life, and I'm in a fight right now for the things that matter most to me in my life, and I will fight until the bitter end. But let me tell you something. In this fight, some 12 to 15 years, well, man, it's 15, 16 years ago now. I'm laying on my back. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm looking at this darkness that's hovering over me, and I'm not liking what I'm seeing. So I start to pray the way I was taught to pray and approach God the way I was taught to approach God. And obviously it was quoting scriptures and making demands. You got to get me out of this. You got to take me out of this. You said in blah 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 blah. And I'm just throwing it out there. And there's a place that you can get when you're really truly searching and you're wanting to be connected, that you literally hear from God. I'm not talking about an audible communication. I'm talking about your spirit is the deepest and the most purest part, and it's your energy, it's your source, and it connects with the spirit of God, which is also spiritual. God is spirit. And so you're connected, and that spiritual connection creates this communication that's capable of understanding things at a level. And most people never get there because they're hovering in a low frequency and a low vibration, and they pray, but they don't hear. And if they hear wrong. Why? Because they are consumed and engrossed in their current circumstances. Sometimes you can be fighting against something and fighting against yourself at the same time because you don't understand the spiritual dynamic at play. But let me tell you what happened. I'm demanding that God comes out, and there's this moment where God speaks to me again. This is not audible. This is deeper than audible. And if you have never experienced this, let me tell you something. It's the thing that keeps me right now in everything I'm going through, is that particular ability to speak to God on a way that you can't imagine. This has absolutely nothing to do with religion. This is the connectivity between the divine and the creation, and the merging of the creation and the divine. I'm telling you something that you need to understand. God is moving in your situation even when you can't see it. But let me tell you what God said to me. God said, I will not bring you out of it. No, he didn't say that. He said, I will not take you out of it, but I will bring you through it. That was the promise of God, that it won't destroy you, but you're going to have to move through it because it's there for a purpose. I didn't accept it though. I went back to the altar. This is what I need. This is how I need it. This is what you promised. Again, this time God communicated. The problem is you have bought into the myth of comfort and greatness. You are more concerned about comfort, but I'm more concerned about your character. And I cannot build character in comfort. I never asked God again to take me out of anything. Not even what I'm going through now. Never ask him once, hey, there's something you need me to do. I'm here for a reason. I get that now. And it won't break me. It will not destroy me. I don't care what happens. I'm coming out of it, but I'm going to stand on what I believe, and I'm going to fight for what God would have me to do. And I'm not going to be shaken by it because someone or something or some situation is bearing down on me. That's that character and that integrity that was built back in that moment where God wouldn't take me out. But he did bring me through. Then I went through something in 2012. Again, this time I didn't even ask to take it out. My conversation with God was so short, but it was the most confident conversation I've had with God until recently. I said, I'm not asking you to take me out of it. Just don't let me die until I come out of it. I already knew I was coming out. I told God, wake me up and I'll answer the bell every day. There will not be a day that you will be ashamed of what I've done on your behalf. See, I'm talking about I put in work when I could have been laid down, folded up in a corner. Nobody knew. The people I was helping didn't know what I was going through. But see, God was there in my pain. And I remember talking with a relative, a distant relative that I had just become acquainted with, and they were conversating with me, and they came into my life just for this moment because I haven't seen them since I went through this. They were there for maybe 6 months, but I was sitting down and I kept talking to them about the darkness, the pain, the frustration, and the dark. And I kept going to the darkness. And I said, I feel so alone in this darkness, but I won't quit. I won't give up. And they sat down and they said, you know, that Solomon said that God dwells in the darkness, even the gross and dense darkness does God dwell. I've come to find him in even the darkest moments. God has never left. There are some things we have to go with. Some of it is simply not going to make sense. But what you have to understand is the more acquainted you become with your purpose, the more your pain starts to make sense. It doesn't mean that it stops hurting, but now you understand. I didn't just go through it for no reason. I was being prepared for something greater that I wasn't yet prepared to take on. Now I will survive and I will thrive in the midst of this dark moment because God dwells in the darkness. You have to understand that whatever you're in right now isn't meant to break you. You've heard me tell the story of my grandfather's greatest lesson to me. That man taught me so much. For a man who was really my great-grandfather, and a man who was born in 1909 and had to work the fields with his father, who was a sharecropper. And at the age of 7 had to drop out of school. So he had a second grade education. His wisdom was unparalleled, and he taught me lessons. But the greatest lesson he ever taught me was I was 17 and I would come in, and I can't explain for the life of me why at 17 I yearned to be in his presence and hear his lessons. Because the average 17-year-old is not trying to hear what grown folks are trying to teach nowadays. I don't know what kept me but I'm grateful. But he told me, sit down. He said, you're going to be in one of three places, kid. I said, son, you're going to be in one in three places. You're either going to be going into a storm, in a storm, or coming out. That's life. Life is a cycle of storms, but you have to have an understanding of the storm. The storm isn't there to destroy you. The storm isn't even there to punish you. Now, it may come as a consequence of a behavior, of a decision, of something you've done, but it's not the purpose of it isn't to destroy you. The purpose of it is to prune you. The purpose of it is to purify you. The purpose of it is to strengthen you. The purpose of it is to prepare you. If you understand the storm and why it's there, it can be a powerful tool. He said, your responsibility as a man, son, when you find yourself in the storm, your only responsibility is to make sure you come out a better man than the one who went in. Let the storm grow you. I thank God for that lesson because it keeps me smiling, even in the pain of the things that I have to endure, because I understand that I'm growing. But more importantly, I'm being better prepared to represent my Creator in the way I move among people. I'm not going to have a whole lot of religion for you, but I'm going to have a hell of a lot of spirituality. And even when I'm dealing in my area of expertise in psychology, I am never divorced from the spiritual nature of what's behind it. I just know how to teach it to people so they get it. But I am never divorced from my connectivity to God. No matter how much I learn, I understand that they are one. I'm going to say this and I have to go. You have a responsibility to the designer to live life at the level of your design. Life is going to throw curveballs. Life is going to have things happen to you that simply are inexplicable. You don't understand where it's coming from. It's frustrating, but you can't give up. You're going to ask some questions like, where is God when it hurts? God is always present. There's nothing you can see or touch where God isn't. Know that in your darkest moment, God is still there. Know in the moment of heartbreak, God is still there. Know when you feel the enemy pressing up against everything that matters to you, God is still there. Don't you shake loose and succumb to the pressure of your moment. Stand firm, square your shoulders, and know you're built for it. Your design is made for you to survive and thrive in that moment. We lose people, and many times it's senseless and it doesn't have any sense or rhythm to it. It doesn't line up with what's supposed to be happening. But you will determine in how you respond to it whether God shows up in the right light. You are the representation of God in your life by how you confront difficult. Anybody can smile when things are going, when everything is good, everybody can smile. And I had somebody who knows all the things that I'm dealing with right now, and they came to me and they know what's going on. And their words was, it's amazing the way you show up every day with a smile on your face and you continue your work. I know you're hurting. I know that. And the thing is, I'm representing God. And it's easy to sit up and talk about how good God is when everything is going smooth. Those moments are to be appreciated. Those moments are to be embraced because they're not permanent, because there's always something moving against you. I'm telling you right now, there are some people in your periphery who are raising up altars against what you're desiring to do in your life. You got to be careful of the snakes that are around. You got to be careful of the darkness that's around. But what I'm telling you is you're built for it. Don't you dare fold. Don't fold. Stand up boldly and know that you're built for it. That's my challenge. Again, I'm about to get off of here. As I always say, I live my life on full so that when I leave this place, I don't eat. And I'm challenging you. If you want to get into this even deeper and you want to talk about healing on a psychological, spiritual, emotional level and how it will prepare you and propel you into levels you never thought, enroll in the Healing Emotional and Psychological Trauma Masterclass that I'm conducting on next Saturday, June 4th, and be entered into a drawing to win a $10,500 platinum package to work with me for a year, or a $6,500 gold package to work with me for 6 months. Those two things will be given away. And I've got something for everybody else too. I'm not going to say what it is, but I'm going to bless everybody that's there. But the two people are going to walk away with the opportunity to work with me. And absolutely, Tawanda. Absolutely. Absolutely. You got to show up. That's what she said. Tawanda said you have to show up. You got to show up. Most people in this world actually lose because they don't even show up. You got to show up. What faith in the promises of God. See, that's the promises of God's word. That's the promises of God's design. That's the promises of God's intimate relationships. And you should be walking and living in all of them. I'm challenging every last one of you to rise up. On that note, I got to get off here, get prepared for my client. I got 4 minutes. I really overdid it. But thanks so much. As I always say, I live my life on full so that when I leave this place, I don't eat. That's my challenge to you. You guys have an unbelievable weekend.